Hello, listeners, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Cinema Recall podcast, continuing our PTA Meetings series. Before I get into our episode on Punch Drunk Love with guest Ed from the Film Effect podcast and Ryan from Soundtrack Your Life, just have to do a quick little housekeeping things here. Now, if you're listening to this on Patreon, I'm going to be announcing the episodes that are coming up in the future. And if you're listening to us on our main feed, these are shows that are in the past. So, yes. So, coming up here on our episodes, I know that me and my friend Ashley, we are going to be talking about Scream, which I don't know why they're not calling it Scream 5. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the latest Scream movie for a bonus little episode. And then next week, our good friend Heather Bassendale of the MILFcast will be coming on our live show to be talking about our favorite female action characters. And we're going to talk a little bit about cancel culture a little bit. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then also on our main feed, I'm going to be having on Carlo of the Movie Loot to talk about Phantom Thread. And then I believe that same week on our Patreon, my good buddy Donnie Roberts, who's going to be an upcoming co-host of ours, we are going to be talking about the movie There Will Be Blood, continuing out our PTA meeting series. And I just let you know, folks, that during this show, there was some little technical issues here. Nothing major, but you'll notice our microphone level kind of just switches here and there. But overall, very fun show, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So here we go right now. Oh yeah, this episode does contain adult language, movie spoilers, some slight nudity, la-da-da. Punch Drunk Love, PTA Meetings. I love you all, and have a good day.
Yeah, this is Dean.
Hey, it's me. This guy from LA, Barry Egan. He's calling on the other line. He's saying all this stuff. He wants to talk to a supervisor or whatever.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
I put him through.
No, this is bad. Something
Shut
must have
up.
happened.
Will you shut up?
Okay, sexy. I'm gonna connect you with my supervisor now.
You're in trouble, honey.
Who's this?
Hello, sir. My name's Barry Egan. I called your service the
Why
other
don't you
night.
shut the fuck up?
Oh, what's that?
I said calm down and shut the fuck up. What's the problem?
The problem is, if you give me a chance to explain, one of your employees, that girl who I was just speaking with, has been threatening me. And 4 blonde gentlemen just attacked me and smashed my car and hurt my girl.
All right, go fuck yourself. That shit has nothing to do with me. All right, I run a legitimate business here.
Listen to me. What's your name, sir? Answer me!
What's your name, asshole?
I'm Barry Egan!
How do I know? You could be anybody,
You're
fuckhead.
a bad person. You have no right taking people's confidence in your service. You understand me, sir?
You're sick.
No.
Shut up! Shut the fuck
You have
up!
no right to take people's
Shut
trust.
up! Will you shut up? Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Now!
Are you threatening me, Dick?
Why don't you go fuck yourself!
Oh. Fuck! Did you just say go fuck myself?
Yes, I did.
That wasn't good! You're dead!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another bonus episode of the Cinema Recall podcast. This is PTA Meetings. We are covering the films from Mr. Paul Thomas Anderson, and today I've got 2 newbies on my show, 2 virgins to my show. I promised them that I'll be very gentle and very sweet. I have with me right now, I've got Ryan from Soundtrack of Your Life. Welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, sir. And I have got Ed from the Film Effect podcast.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to say there too, Ed, thank you very much because I entered a contest for the Film Effect podcast to win.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I won the entire Planet of the Apes collection, and I'm very
Not
grateful.
yet?
I watched all the new ones with Caesar.
No problem. Yeah.
I watched that whole entire trilogy, and then I'm going to go back and watch the original ones from the 60s and go through those. And then at the end, I'll watch the remake with Marky Mark.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg,
That one.
who's in our previous episode talking about Boogie Nights. Yes.
Great film. Much better than Planet of the Apes.
There you go. But go ahead and tell the listeners out there a little bit more about the Film Effect podcast.
All right, no problem. So basically, it's myself and my best friend Sean. The two of us get together, and once, sometimes twice or more a week, we do a deep dive on a different film, covering it ins and outs, breaking it down. It's a whole entire deep dive. Plus, we talk about everything going on in the world of film, at the time of recording. It's fun. You got a couple hours of your time. Check us out. We're in the middle of Best Picture month. We just covered. Well, we did a one-off for the holidays. We did The Long Kiss Goodnight, and we just recorded our final episode for Best Picture month, which was Rain Man, which is releasing on New Year's Eve, and I'm really excited about that. And then we're taking a couple weeks off for the new year, and then we're coming back with a bunch of stuff for January. And I'm really excited about 2022. So a lot of stuff going on. We have a Patreon we're launching. So good stuff ahead. Looking forward to it. We got a lot of good celebrity interviews lined up. Some big names I can't reveal just yet, but yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. One of which is like I was just like, no way. But look out for that one in March.
Damn.
And, yeah.
Well,
good stuff coming up. Looking forward to it.
That is amazing. Best luck to you. I'm very excited to hear your Long Kiss Goodnight episode. That's one of my favorite movies. It doesn't really get talked about much.
Spoiler alert. When's the last time you watched it?
Like a few days ago.
Okay. To each their own. I haven't seen it in about 10 years, and it was not the same film I remember it being. So it's still a fun episode, though. I'm not discouraging you from listening to it.
Okay, fair enough there. Hey, I like different opinions about movies, so, no fault right there. As long as you have fun, talk about the movie regardless of what your opinions are. So very cool.
Right.
Excited to hear about that. You can definitely follow the Film Effect podcast on the Twitter sphere at Film Effect Pod, capital F, capital E, capital P. So thank you very much for that. And next on here, we have Mr. Ryan from Soundtrack Your Life, or Soundtrack of Your Life. Welcome.
Soundtrack Your Life.
Just Soundtrack Your Life? Okay, see, the whole thing, too, when I was, finding the thing on, through the podcast things, I'm like, is it supposed to be Soundtrack of Your Life, or just Soundtrack Your Life? Okay, so.
Yeah, it can be either, so.
Well, thank you very much for joining the show with us. Tell listeners a little bit about your show as well.
So I have a soundtrack podcast, and that kind of doubles as a music and film podcast, since it's often difficult to talk about a soundtrack without talking about the movie. Punch Drunk Love has an amazing soundtrack, or amazing score, done by John Bryan. So we do a episode twice a month. We do one episode with me and my co-host Brandis and Nicole, and we do an episode with a guest, and we talk about different soundtracks that they're choosing, and we kind of talk about all the different connections they have to the soundtrack. Sometimes, it helps them get into a director like Paul Thomas Anderson. Sometimes the soundtrack gets them into a specific band. So we just kind of go to do those different threads, and it's always a fun ride.
Yeah, and I love the episodes you have on here. You did one for Dazed and Confused and The Royal Tenenbaums and Scream 2. And you even did one about The Simpsons, their album they did, Songs in the Key of Springfield, which is kind of cool because that's based on a whole entire, series. It's not based on just, one episode or one movie. They're just, different characters.
Yeah, and we just kind of ended up talking about, all the different songs in The Simpsons, whether it's, the movie or the TV show. And, they cover a lot of different genres in that show. Yeah,
very much. That's all, that song, King of Springfield, is all at the table of, incidental music and clips of the shows. Little musical interludes was in that. I still think you should cover Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that album, but it's technically not a soundtrack, so that's kind of why we went with Songs of the Key of Springfield.
Fair enough there. You
Make
got
it
me
a
there.
bonus episode.
I just want you guys to do the Bartman.
Oh, we do talk about it in that episode.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. Very cool. And you can definitely find Soundtrack Your Life at, I just had it here, and I'm horrible with my Soundtrack Your Life at @soundtrack_your on the Twitter sphere. Check them out on the website, soundtrackyourlife.net. Now, today's guys, like I said before in the intro, that most people know when they click on this episode, that we're talking about Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love. But I have to ask each of you what your history is with Paul Thomas Anderson, and what was the first movie you ever saw of Paul Thomas Anderson? I'll start with you, Ed. What was your history with Paul Thomas Anderson, and what was the first movie you ever saw of his?
First movie I saw was Boogie Nights
Okay.
back in March, I believe, of '98 when it first came out on VHS. Me and a couple of my buddies rented it. And I've been a fan of his. I missed out on Magnolia because it didn't appeal to me because I was still like around 15 or so. I wasn't quite a mature movie fan that I am today. So this film came out about an interesting time of my life. I was actually graduating from high school. I was working as a manager of Blockbuster Video. And then this came out, and it's just something about this movie I've just been attached to since I first saw it, going on 20 years next year.
Oh. Well, we'll definitely hold on to your thoughts about Punch Drunk Love just a second later here, but I want to hear from Ryan about your history with Paul Thomas Anderson. And what was the first movie you ever saw of his?
The first movie I saw of Paul Thomas Anderson's was Magnolia.
Okay, wow.
I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it in college, and I had heard all the hype about Paul Thomas Anderson, so I started with the one that got nominated for all those awards, and I was not disappointed.
Fair enough. Oh, very cool. I know for sure I started with Boogie Nights. The weird thing is, too, I said it before, my parents rented this movie, and after they got done watching it, they says, Jason, we watched a great movie. It's all about porno. You should watch it. It's called Boogie Nights. Here you go. And they let me watch it by myself, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was a VHS, and I thought, oh, this is actually really entertaining. And when it came out to DVD, my dad got it. And that was like the first commentary track I ever listened to for a movie. And Paul Thomas Anderson just does a really great job of like commenting on movies. I'm thinking, oh, damn, this looks like a fun guy to know. And after that, yeah, I just started seeing every one of his movies. I did not get a chance to see Magnolia in theaters because it wasn't really playing at any multiplexes where I was at. And then I did see about Punch Drunk Love coming out to theaters. And I know for sure this was the first movie I ever saw of his in theaters.
From Paul Thomas Anderson, the director of Boogie Nights and Magnolia.
There's this friend of mine from work who I think is really cute and really cool, and I want you to meet her. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Punch Drunk Love is a romantic comedy on the edge. On the edge of being a comedy. On the edge of being romantic. On the edge of sanity. And on the edge, the leading one of American movies themselves.
I'm going to Hawaii on Friday.
Hawaii? I was thinking about going there.
Really?
I'm probably not going to go, though.
The Los Angeles Times calls it as wonderful as it is strange. Winner, Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival.
I have a love in my life. It makes me stronger than anything you can imagine.
Adam Sandler, Emily Watson, Punch Drunk Love. Yes! Rated R. Now playing in New York and LA. Opens Friday in additional cities.
When did you first see Punch Drunk Love? Ed, I'll start with you. Tell me when you first saw Punch Drunk Love, and then tell me your experience with it, because you were going into that earlier.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
You did? Okay.
Definitely. I saw it, yeah. And definitely checked it out when it first came out on DVD. And, yeah, because that was one of those, it came out with a really cool packaging on the DVD. It was like a cardboard slipcase and whatnot that Columbia did for it. Pretty interesting to look back on. And, yeah, I mean, we'll get into my overall thoughts in a bit, but that was my first time seeing it in the theater.
Wait, I like what you mentioned too about that packaging art, because I remember the back of it had like a heart on it, and it's just a picture of Adam Sandler's face, close up. And I could be wrong, but I thought that
it wasn't the one sheet.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one, but I know it was Adam Sandler's face, and he was one of the main credits on here. And tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't Punch Drunk Love and Anger Management kind of come close together when it came out on DVD?
Yeah, because this got a wide release around Christmas time, award season as I call it, in 2002, and then Anger Management came out that following spring. So they're about 4 or 5 months apart.
So I do remember like live audiences when I went to the theater, people would come up to the clerk store, the video store, and ask me about these movies, and I had to tell them like, well, they're both completely different, but they're both fun.
Yeah, you got that right.
Ryan, tell me, when did you first see Punch Drunk Love?
I think I saw it when it first came out on DVD because I couldn't find anyone to watch it with me because all my friends were too confused about watching this serious Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was one of my best friends to see this movie in theaters because we were both fans of like Happy Gilmore, and we were fans of Billy Madison. So we're thinking, sure, why not? My friend really had no idea about Paul Thomas Anderson. He'd seen Boogie Nights, but he hadn't seen Magnolia. Didn't care to see that. And I said, all right, well, let's go check this out. And it was playing not at a multiplex. We actually had to go into the cities to go watch it at Art House Theater. And so right away, my friend's like, Vern, I don't know, man. But both watched it. And I know he laughed at several times because there are some really just gut-bustingly laugh out loud moments in this movie. But at the end of the movie, he says, it was funny at parts, but I have no idea what the hell is going on with this. I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah. If you're going into it expecting a typical Adam Sandler film, then you've got another thing coming because you clearly don't know PTA, and it's definitely a movie that says something at the end of it. So it's not your usual, gut buster that Sandler would put out. It's not his schlock, as some would say. It's definitely something that gets you thinking, And it also, another thing he did, I can speak firsthand from working at a video store when it came out, it got a lot of conversations going.
Sure.
About what it was about, because Sandler brought in that crowd. And I'm going to guesstimate 75% of that audience didn't know what the hell they just watched after the 90-minute mark and the film ended. It went over a lot of people's heads, at least from my perspective, from people bringing it back that were like, you recommended this. What the hell was it?
Yeah. I don't know if you agree with this or not too, Ryan, but I kind of feel like even if you're a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson's other movies, like especially Punch Drunk Love, Magnolia, and Heart 8, if you go into this movie, it's very different from other Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
I don't know if he's made a breezy movie, but I feel like this is kind of a breezy movie for him.
I was going to say, you can consider this a safe film. Some people would label it for him. I had this argument. It's funny you bring this up. I actually had this debate we have a frequent guest, one of my close friends, or our close friends, Justin, who's on the show. And usually he was on there for one of our PTA episodes. We just did Inherent Vice, and he was on there with us. And he's vocal about this movie. He hates it. And so does my co-host Sean. Like they both are like, it's always me against them whenever this film gets brought up, and I'm in the minority. And he always has the same argument that it's kind of like his safe movie, that he was just trying to like kind of pander to like that audience at the time, and like he just doesn't get it. He's tried, but every time he tries to watch it, he just comes out just not being a fan of it. So, I mean, like I always say, film is subjective. So
sure.
To each their own, and it is what it is. I happen to think this is one of his finer films. It's not quite my favorite, but it's definitely in my top 3. Might be my second favorite film.
You see, I think this movie takes more risks than something like There Will Be Blood. Like, There Will Be Blood is a brilliant movie, and I'm not dissing on that movie at all. It's an incredible movie. But I feel like There Will Be Blood, which came right after Punch Drunk Love, was Paul Thomas Anderson going, hey, okay, I'm sorry for those of you who don't like Punch Drunk Love. I'm going to do something here that, you're going to like again, and you're going to enjoy the hell out of it. So, yeah. And I think with Punch Drunk Love, he was trying to do something new. He wanted to make a romantic comedy, but he wanted to make a romantic comedy unlike anyone else has made before. I know that he was probably a big fan of like French cinema and French comedy, and that's what I get through watching this movie. And it has a lot to do with Adam Sandler's performance. As Ryan mentioned before, the music from John Bryan is absolutely amazing. The cast is all great. It has those elements of being an Adam Sandler movie, especially when he starts getting angry at things. And it's just got that great delivery. So for people who are fans of Adam Sandler, you can still see a lot of the Adam Sandler performances or the nuances that he has. But I just like the way the film kind of skirts this. And I watched this again with one of my roommates, and kind of watched this along with Phantom Thread, and he says that both movies are very similar. Like they have this very anxiety-driven tone to it.
Funny because that's my favorite film of his is Phantom Thread.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's an amazing movie too. But I was watching the Punch Drunk Love. He's saying, "Is this supposed to be a comedy? Because I'm not laughing at all. I'm just feeling more nervous than actually liking these people." And I'm like, okay, I can't really fault that at all. I mean, Barry Egan, who I mentioned is played by Adam Sandler, is very much nervous type of guy.
Every Paul Thomas Anderson film speaks on something. He always brings awareness to something, whether it's like Scientology with the Master, or like he wanted to make a noir film, but it's also an adaptation with Inherent Vice. There's always a message with something like the industry. There's a religious message with Magnolia. This, yes, it's PTA making a romantic comedy with Adam Sandler, but he's also bringing awareness to introversion and social anxiety disorder. I'm sorry, like anxiety issues. This is Barry Egan is like your lead narrative, and that's all that surrounds him. It's just social anxiety, whether it's in the form of this pudding crisis, this hotline stalker, his 7 evil sisters. There's always something, you know. So I'm actually looking forward to discussing the whole opening scene with you guys whenever you guys are ready to dive into it. So.
Oh, type of opening scenes. Well, let's before we get into like moments from this movie, let me ask you this, Ryan. Okay, did you have? I kind of want to look at like each of the other characters in this. Talk about Barry Egan, but I do want to talk about Emily Watson's performance a little bit as Lena in this. Now, I've only seen Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves, and that was a Lars von Trier movie that I don't know if anyone else here in the room have seen Breaking the Waves, but I thought she was good, and it was really kind of like odd to have Adam Sandler be on screen because she's an indie actor. Same thing too with like Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I thought he played his own very well. But I just want to talk briefly about Lena's role in this, and I'll start with you, Ryan.
You know, it's really hard to pinpoint it, but she's just such a lovable, like, pure person in this movie.
People have often said, too, that they never really quite understood why Lena would talk to this neurotic, strange guy. And I said, well, the key scene is when she talks to him and says, "I saw a picture of you and your 7 sisters, and I had to meet you." And Barry Egan's like, "What? No way." And he asks her, "Well, how many brothers and sisters do you have?" And she says, "Well, I'm the complete opposite. I'm an only child." And he's like, "It must be nice." And she's like, "No, it was terrible." So she sees in him having all those sisters and big family, she's thinking that's absolutely great. And for him, it's an absolute hellhole because his sisters treat him like absolute shit. And so he sees, you know, her having this, you know, being the only child as being wonderful and great, but she sees it being lonely, and they both have these issues, and they're very much alike. And that's why I say, no, she sees something in him and whatnot. And I found it to be just a very lighthearted moment of it, and that's what makes me kind of fall in love a little bit more with that character.
Well, Lena's like the yin to his yang. She's got social issues herself. Let's not forget. She's kind of quirky in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with everything you said about her. She is the most lovable person, you know, who's almost, in a sense, kind of too good for Barry.
Would you call her like the manic pixie dream girl?
I'd say yes and no.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, kind of.
Kind of being that dream woman and everything too, but she doesn't always like agree with everything that Adam Sandler's character does, and she tries to like open him up a little bit more, but she does kind of call him on a few things too, which I actually enjoyed about the character. She's just not a person that just kind of goes along with every type of like, you know, fantasies that Barry Egan wants in a woman.
Yeah, she definitely has more depth than I think the stereotypical manic pixie dream girl.
All right.
She's kind of like a representation of love.
Sure.
I almost feel like every character in this movie is perfectly crafted, and everyone has their own representation of something or another. And like I said, in this case for Elena, she's a representation of love for Barry's life, something that he's never experienced before. And again, I kind of have to go back to like her quirkiness, because she's, kind of like that herself. And she's a pusher.
Mm-hmm.
She gets Barry to do things, even things that he doesn't realize, that he wouldn't normally do. Kind of like just spontaneously just get up and go to the airport and fly to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Say hi. It's crazy. So.
Yeah, that was one, and I'm pretty sure for people who are listening to the show, if you're listening to the show, I hope you have actually seen Punch Drunk Love, because we're kind of going back and forth, like talking about plot and characters. But that was one of the most strangest things about the plot. The fact that this character, Barry Egan, he works at this factory selling toiletries, I guess you would say.
Like toilet plungers.
Toilet plungers with the no break handles. And he has this relationship with his 7 sisters who all kind of pick on him. And then one night he decides to call a phone sex line, and then the phone sex operator starts harassing him for money. And this is about the same time where the character of Lena comes in, and he starts to really become infatuated with her, but at the same time he's still trying to sort of hold together his insanity, and he doesn't want his sisters to know about what's going on in his love life. He doesn't want other people to know about his love life and things going on with his sister. And you're right, the whole thing is very subjective, and it's all kind of a manic mess. We got to talk more about the score there, but John Brand's score, the way that it conveys, the way you're feeling, it's just absolutely brilliant there too. And I kind of feel in a whirlwind every time I watch this movie, and I get confused and I get anxious, and that's kind of the point of the movie in a way. Let's talk briefly about him and the 7 sisters a little bit there. Ed, what do you think about that going on there? Why the 7 sisters? It could have been 2 sisters. What was the point of having the 7 sisters?
I wrote down some notes, and as far as the sisters go, personally, thinking about this, I think his sisters represent pushers in life that we all normally deal with. Like in Mary's case, they're sort of like a test for his social anxiety. Each sister is kind of different. Like everyone else, you have Elizabeth, the main sister, who who's pushing for. She's kind of like the representation of love, kind of like Lena. Well, she's actually plays a part in the Lena character because she's pushing for them to get together. Mm-hmm. And then we have the other sister who calls him gay boy, calling him nervous and constantly calling him out. That's Elizabeth. And then there's the one who's always calling him gay boy nonstop. And that's just kind of like one of them, like a nagging tick or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't put the words for something like that. But I felt like all 7 of them, we're not even introduced to half of them. We only know 3 of them. And they all just, I feel like, are a different representation of something or another.
Yeah.
There's got to be a specific reason why he chose 7 for, this story. So there's a reason behind it. I think that's what it is.
I think, and I'm just sort of just guessing on here too, because just 7 seems like a pretty big number to have. And I just kind of like the fact, even that opening scene where they're all kind of calling back and forth is just absolutely brilliant. And just kind of right away the pressure and stress this character's going through, because as you mentioned before, Barry's very much an introvert, and he does have love out there, but he's also kind of unsure of himself, and his sisters kind of know this, and they kind of rate on him about it. And I think they're doing this to sort of get him to loosen up a little bit. And as all siblings do, they all kind of rate on each other a little bit. And it's clear that Barry has more effeminate traits to him, and his sisters have a little bit more masculine traits to their characters.
Yeah, I get that. I agree. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also, so I have 4 older sisters.
Oh, okay.
So I think part of having a big family and having them all the opposite gender is, you can feel like you're being ganged up on just because, you're the only boy.
Sure.
And then even though the sisters seem to be particularly nasty in this movie, they always think that they're trying to look out for you in a way.
Yeah.
The gay boy is probably still in that sister's mind, like, out of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it comes from a story. When he walks in the house, she's telling a story you can hear in the background. I didn't write the story down. I can't remember what it was, about the time when he was little, and that's where, they started calling him that. But what I was going to say real quick is, they drive him essentially to smash the glass, the window.
Mm-hmm.
That's Barry's limit being reached, and he's throwing a fit of rage because he can't control his emotions. And we see that the following scene when he asks his brother-in-law for help, even though he's a dentist, because he doesn't know anything about it. He thinks because he's a doctor that he can just help him with anything. So it's a funny scene.
Yeah. Very, very much so.
But it's darkly funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked about he cries for no reason. Yeah. Funny thing too, then that was Robert Smigel, who I think created TV's Funhouse. All those
and Triumph.
Yeah.
Triumph. He's the voice of Triumph. Thank you very much, Ryan. I totally forgot about that. So I found that to be very kind of cool. And yeah. Great point there.
And he's done a lot of work with Sandler as well in his comedies.
Oh, very nice. Oh, brilliant. And then I kind of want to talk briefly about the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's one of the managers of the phone sets operation committee. And I found it great that Paul Thomas Anderson used him again. I mean, he's basically been in every single Paul Thomas Anderson movie since Hard 8, and I thought it was great because.
And now his son's in them.
Yep, that's right, Cooper Hoffman and Licorice Pizza. So, but yeah, what are you guys' kind of thoughts on Philip Seymour Hoffman as this character? And I'll go to you, Ryan.
Oh, I mean, for just the small amount of time that he's in the film, he makes such a huge impression. Just him yelling "shut up" over and over again. I won't say he steals the movie because Sandler does a phenomenal job, but he definitely makes an impact in the small amount of time that he has on screen.
I just like the fact too that he plays different characters in all of Paul Thomas Anderson movies up to that point right there. I mean, the nurse from Magnolia and Sky J, and he plays a small cameo in Hard 8. They're all just completely different characters. And I like just kind of the range that he has. But I just kind of found his main, I guess, fight sequence that he has with Barry Eaton to be very good. I kind of wish he had more sort of like lines because he's actually pretty funny in this movie, and I kind of wish there was just a little bit more. But all in all, I definitely had just to give him a quick little mention here. I don't know, do you have any quick little comments on Philip Seymour Hoffman?
I mean, as rewatching this film just a couple hours ago, and even the little amount of time he's in this movie, it was just I just said to myself, God damn, I miss Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Man, I miss this guy. Because he just stands out. He's in like 3 scenes in this movie, and there's just key moments. And he's a scumbag, but he's like a lovable scumbag because he's just such a phenomenal actor. And yeah, I just miss the man overall and think, when I see him in the PTA film, I just smile because I know that how much of a presence he was in his films when he was here. So, I mean, he was a staple of his movies for the most part.
The really weird thing, and I'll go off topic just slightly, is that I recently rewatched Red Dragon with Edward Norton and, the other sequel to the Hannibal series, the remake of Manhunter. And Red Dragon...
Yeah, with also Emily Watson.
Emily Watson and Philip Seymour Hoffman are both in it.
Yeah.
And they're both kind of playing similar characters in a way, because both this movie and Punch Drunk Love were released in the same year.
Yeah, about 2 months apart. I remember it because Well, Red Dragon for one was filmed. I'm from Baltimore, and this was filmed right. And Red Dragon was filmed in Baltimore.
Oh, it was. Oh, damn.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely was there like opening night. I remember that. It was like 2 weeks before Halloween in 2002 when that came out, and then this came out a couple months later. So it was like Philip Seymour Hoffman was all over the place that year, and yeah, it's good. It's fine.
It's fine. I know. I just now I kind of want to get briefly into Adam Sandler and this. We talked about him before. Before I get into his role in Punch Drunk Love, did you guys have a favorite Adam Sandler movie before Punch Drunk Love, or did you not? I'll ask you, Ryan. Did you like Adam Sandler before this movie or not?
Yeah, I wasn't someone that would watch every Adam Sandler movie, but Happy Gilmore is a classic. Billy Madison. Big Daddy.
Oh, yes.
And then even Airheads. I really loved Airheads.
Forgot about Airheads.
Yeah, it's Pip.
Yeah, he's great as Pip.
Yeah. That is great. I don't know, Ed, did you have a favorite little Adam Sandler movie before this one?
No, Little Nicky.
Oh, okay, nice. All right.
I'm in the minority. I still to this day think that movie's hilarious. I saw that movie opening night in the theaters with my buddy, and laughed so hard for the majority of it, and I had never laughed like that before in a Sandler film, granted. And yeah, I mean, Little Nicky was just the shit back in 2000 when that came out. So, but it's also
doesn't that
he did Mr. Deeds also right before this came out,
yep.
And I thought Mr. Deeds was also a funny movie too. So Sandler was kind of on a roll in my world.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean. Didn't Little Nicky have Patricia Arquette as a love interest in that, I think?
Yeah, she was in it.
Yeah.
Everyone was in Little Nicky. Hell, even Rodney Dangerfield was in Little Nicky.
Oh, that's right. I know I saw that movie a bunch of time growing up. It was one of the staples.
Quentin Tarantino is in Little Nicky.
That's right, he is. Oh, shit.
People forget.
That's a movie I should definitely watch again. I know I watched it and laughed out loud. Now, for me, the reason why I think Adam Sandler could be good in a drama movie was because of his role in The Wedding Singer.
Oh, another classic, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I love The Wedding Singer. That was before Little Nicky, that was my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I love Little Nicky, but Wedding Singer, he actually does show a little bit dramatic chops here and there. So when they mention about Adam Sandler being in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, it didn't seem so far-fetched. I'm thinking, okay, I think why not? Let's see if we can do it. Because I had no idea what movie Paul Thomas Anderson was going to make. Is he just going to go ahead and make an Adam Sandler movie? Because that's what I kind of thought it was. I thought, it's kind of weird for Paul Thomas Anderson to be making an Adam Sandler comedy, but sure, why the hell not? He could possibly do it, and I thought it was going to be something along the lines of Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, or whatnot there, like a raunchy movie, but kind of done through the lens of Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm like, okay, sure.
I mean, like I mentioned, he's a lot less, hibbity-dibbity and a lot more, serious potential in his role. I think the trailers for this film kind of gave audiences a sneak preview of what they were going to be in for. It did a good job of, giving people a heads up of what kind of role this was going to be for Sandler. So,
I think,
right.
And this would be kind of a good sort of segue into talk about the opening sequence, because I think this opening sequence kind of just sets up for the audience what they are expecting or what they're in the mood for when they watch this, because it starts off with just Adam Sandler at the desk talking to some sales reps, and then he takes his coffee cup, goes out into the parking lot, and he's standing out there with his coffee, and now I think he sees a car crash first, right?
Yeah, it's the first thing that happens. Now, also notice there's no opening credits either.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
It's just Sandler on the phone enjoying his peaceful, quiet morning. Mm-hmm. Remember that. Peaceful, quiet morning. And he goes out, and the accident happens.
Very loud, like unexpectedly, this loud noise, because there's actually no music. There's just that little part of dialogue. It's very kind of quiet dialogue too.
So in my interpretation, the car accident never happened. It represents reality crashing down on its quiet morning at a sudden moment. I mean, like out of nowhere, boom, he's gonna start. Here's everything because he's got that social anxiety going on. So that car crash represents, here we go, and boom, reality starts now. And you know, the harmonium's dropped off by a checker taxi. That acts as a symbol of love. So that's my take on it.
I kind of like that too, and it's sort of represented because after the car crash happens, you don't see really aftermath because you just see a very close up of the cab.
No sirens.
Yeah, no sirens.
No people screaming, "Help me!"
Nothing.
Yep. that car rolls like 20 times down the highway, and then all of a sudden, boom! Because a lot happens, a lot to take in, even as a viewer, because you're focused on that, car barrel rolling in front of Sandler. And then all of a sudden, cut to checkered flag van stopped, harmonium gets dropped off, boom. It's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, 100%. That is brilliant. And he brings the harmonium in, and then the shutters open, and I think this is where we first meet Louis Dumont's character, and he's talking about the piano. And then the part where you think there's going to be opening credits, it's just this artwork that's done by Jeremy Blake, and it's just a collage of different colors and images. And
a lot of color palettes. I love it.
Did you?
I love that as much as I love the music.
Did you? I know you, Ryan. Did you get it all confused when you first watched this movie and saw all the colors, but not see any opening credits to that? I was.
Yeah, I was wondering if that first part of the movie was a dream because of this, animation of just colors and no credits.
Yeah, I thought it was neat. So if people think that Paul Thomas Anderson's playing it safe, from that first opening sequence, it just feels like no, he's experimenting more. I think he's doing a lot more experimentation with his cinematography in this movie than he's done with other movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, the tracking shots in this film are amazing.
Yeah, and the lens glare, it's a lot better than you'd see something from like a J.J. Abrams film.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like his usage of the blue, the color blue palette. That's he uses throughout the whole film and the camera.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography and the music in this movie is just phenomenal. I can't say enough about it.
Let's talk a little bit about the music a little bit in this. John Bryan's score.
Bryan's score.
This will go now. This is the second feature. Well, actually, possibly like the third feature because they did work together a little bit on Hard 8 because both Michael Penn and John Bryan worked together on that one. And in Magnolia was John Bryan's score, but songs by Amy Mann, who is married to Michael Penn. And this one's just a straight John Bryan score. And there's one moment I've got to talk about this because it's one of my favorite moments in the movie, and I think it really it expresses John Bryan's score very well. And it's the moment when one of his sister brings Lena in to meet with him, and just there's like a lot of chaos going on in the factory.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment when Barry Egan's character is talking to Lena, and there's an accident going on outside. He's still getting phone calls from the phone sets operator that's trying to extort money from him, and he's trying to impress her. And he's like, "So, where are you from? What are you doing?" And then things explode everywhere, and she's like, checking on that. "Should you check on that?" He's like, "Yeah. Are you guys okay?" And the music just sort of like, it's hard to describe the music for this one, the whole movie, because it's scenes where it's all done with this like, feels like just things crashing and clinking around, but it so represents.
He's experimented a lot with the harmonium himself for the soundtrack, and I can't rave enough about the track "He Needs Me." I'll be at work and that damn song will be in my head throughout the whole entire day. I love it. I'll listen to it. "He Needs Me," which is you have the Shelley Duvall sample from Popeye. It's just
Oh!
the whole song. Yeah, that's what that is. That's Shelley Duvall from Popeye singing.
Why does it sound so familiar?
Right.
Why am I not picking up on that? That's okay.
Yeah.
I recognize Shelley Duvall's voice because he's got a very distinct voice because you grew up through years watching fairy tale theater. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but that was absolutely amazing. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
It's a Henry Nielsen song.
Oh.
Yes.
But it sounds so much like a John Bryan score. It just fits perfectly.
Yeah, John Bryan and Jonathan Carp did additional composition work for the track. So, but the whole score, everything, the whole soundtrack from the overture until the final track, He Really Needs Me. It's just phenomenal. I listen to that, like I said, that and Greenwood's Phantom Thread scores all the time.
All right. That now in a weird way, I kind of want to rewatch Popeye again now. That's very cool just to see
Right.
the difference in that material right there. Yeah, I mean, I love that whole sequence because there's that moment right before the song plays because there's a moment when he actually calls the pudding company. So I should mention too that Barry Egan has this plan to take a bunch of healthy choice coupons from the pudding to get frequent flyer miles.
Which is a true story.
That is true.
He found a loophole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
it
is
really happened.
absolute kind of cool and amazing. But there's that sequence where he calls up the representative, and the representative tells them that it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks for it to process. And he says, "Well, you never saw this before in the ad." And he punches the wall, and it shows his bloody hands. And I never noticed this until I watched it this time, but his hands spell out the word love.
Yeah, and he walks out and he's like, "Oh, I'm taking a dive on the pudding. Gonna be 6 to 8 weeks, so I'm leaving anyway."
He's going to Hawaii there.
But yeah, but it happened to a gentleman named David Phillips.
Oh,
1999. So, and it was just like the film. Yeah, all the facts. The 50. I wrote down. Hang on a sec. 10 purchases of any Healthy Choice products equals 500 miles, and with the coupon, the same purchases would value 1,000 frequent flyer miles, and that was a real promotion. There was like a loophole that he found. So, yeah, PTA actually incorporated that real incident into this movie.
Well, let me ask you this. All right, now, if he's trying to go for these frequent flyer miles, and he can't get that right away. Now, at this moment of the movie, the set's workers' brothers have come to town and have robbed him of mostly all of his money. All right? So I want to ask you, how is he able to afford to go out to Hawaii if he just got robbed and he can't get, any frequent flyer miles?
That hasn't happened yet. I don't think, unless I'm confusing the plot.
I thought the robbery happened before the plane trip to Hawaii.
I'm pretty sure it happens after Hawaii. Hang on, let me double check.
I
could be wrong.
I know he gets attacked by his girlfriend. Him and his girlfriend get attacked by the brother, and he fights back. But it was after their first date, after they had the date where he smashes up the bathroom, and there's a great moment when he leaves her apartment and he says, "All right, I'll see you later," and bye-bye, and bye-bye, and bye-bye, you stupid motherfucker, and bye-bye, oh, you goddamn. He gets down to the lobby area.
So the break-in happens when they ram the car, right?
Yeah, after they have, their first date, and he smashes up the bathroom, and he, goes back to her apartment, and he leaves. He comes back.
That's after Hawaii.
No, that's after their date. He goes to Hawaii with her when he finds out more about the coupon deal, right?
I believe, yeah, he gets robbed before Hawaii, and then the car crash fight is after Hawaii.
That's when he starts to fight back.
I mean, I said I could be wrong, even though I just watched the movie myself,
But I don't think it really matters how, and I'm just doing little fun little nitpicking on there. I don't think it really matters how he's able to get to Hawaii, because he does, and You know what? We
The
could probably
movie, as we always say on my show.
see. I think it's fair right now to maybe just kind of talking about our favorite moments in this, because this movie is just kind of like a whirlwind, and I definitely want to get into some of my favorite moments.
I don't know. I love the Hawaii trip. Just the random, just forget it. I'm just getting up and going to Hawaii and seeing the girl of my dreams. And the soundtrack that accompanies it is just awesome. And it's the only time in the movie we actually see Lena wear something that's not red.
Oh.
She's wearing the white gown. But every other scene in the movie, she's wearing a variation of red, which is kind of a play on his blue. So, like I was saying earlier, yin yang. But I don't know. I've always enjoyed the Hawaii sequence, and otherwise, I really enjoy the opening and what it represents. So
I love the moments in Hawaii when he's calling up his sister to get the phone number.
Yes.
And he's like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why can't I just get the phone number? All right, you want that from me? You want me to kill you? I'll do it. And he starts freaking out. And they just numbers, and he tries calling once, and it's the wrong room. And when he calls again, the phone booth lights up.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna say, I made a note of that the phone booth and the even the music itself illuminates a little bit.
Yes, it does.
Finally. So yeah.
And I love the sequence when they're actually in bed together and they're kissing.
I want to bite your cheeks. You're so fucking cute. I just want to bite your cheeks. And then he's like, I want to smash your face with a sledgehammer. You're so pretty. Like, who says that? I love it. It's like, who the hell says that, though?
But it's how you see that they're perfect for each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's probably one of my, I know the first time I saw that was probably my laughed out loud moment, because it was just so unexpected. And humor seems to work well that way.
Running away from the guys in the truck, and then they're just driving right beside him, and he's running. The guy's like, you know where you live, stupid.
Yeah.
I always laugh at that moment.
Oh. Well, Ryan, man, do you have, little favorite moments of this movie?
There's one small moment that I find funny every time, and it's where he's running, and then he kind of, dives, and then you see him running away.
Oh, yes. Is that little...
Right before this, right before what I was talking about. It's like the little dive he does. I love it. Great.
Yeah. Brilliant part there. My favorite moment of this movie, and I touched on it a little briefly there, but it's after they had their first date, and he gets up to leave, and just kind of gives her a small kiss, and just says, well, I'll see you later, and bye-bye, and he leaves that room, he's got that great line, and bye-bye, you stupid motherfucker, and bye-bye.
Yeah.
He gets down to the lobby area, and he gets a call from Lena's room, and she says, I really wanted to kiss you just then. And he goes back to find a room, but he gets lost, and it's like going back and forth through the hallways, accidentally goes outside, and when he gets to the room, the moment when the music sort of swells up, and they kiss, that for me is probably one of my favorite cinematic moments in history.
Yeah.
Just that right there. That could be on a montage of 100 greatest movie moments, and that would definitely be in there. Is just that. I'm like, that sequence right there for me is okay, this is why I love cinema. Just the way that it made you feel, and you felt the butterflies and stuff, and you felt, you felt heartwarming, and you felt the love in the air, and you just felt good. And it's one of those sequences that made you feel good. I can't describe it any more than that, but I thought that sequence was absolutely great.
I always love the way this film ends, the way she walks into him and he's playing on the harmonium, and she comes behind him and she's like, and here we go.
Yeah.
Cut the credits. It's a beautiful ending.
Very much so. And I think this movie just kind of says that, hey, it doesn't matter who you are, what's going on with your life right there. There's love out there for you, bud. It's, just don't be afraid to let, happen to you. And so, yeah, sometimes the relationship may, not work out. We don't really know for sure, because I've had, situations before where just everything seemed like it was going great, and then things happen. So, yeah.
But as weird as this movie can be, it's a very sweet story.
Oh, very sweet.
Absolutely agree.
Uh, uh, I know for me, I would put this as like my number 2 favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Magnolia is still number 1 for me, but I still highly enjoy this just because of how different and unique it is. Especially because I watched this again along with Phantom Thread, and very
Yeah.
different tone movie there. But Phantom Thread is even better the second time I watched it than the first.
Yeah, I think Phantom Thread's a masterpiece, and this is even a breeze to watch. You know, a PTA film at only 90 minutes. Sign me up.
Exactly. Oh, was there anything else about this movie you want to, discuss and talk about? Anything I missed out on before we get into our scores?
No, I think we covered everything that I wanted to talk about. So,
Ryan, anything for you?
I just wanted to point out that I really appreciate that Emily Watson is able to stick up for herself at the end. You know, he tells her that those bad men are gone, and she goes, "But you left me at the hospital."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, why'd you just leave me there?
Yeah. And he says, that's where he started to miss everything to her, about calling the phone switch line and everything. And she's kind of listening to her eyes like, well, you could have just told me that from the start. I'm not here to judge you at all. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like that kind of honest moment, and that she's not just like, "Oh, I'm a damsel in distress. I'm glad that you did what you had to do." She's like, "You left me at the hospital. I'm mad at you."
Gosh. Yeah. 100% there. Well, just kind of give me your guys' scores of Punch Drunk Love, and then tell audiences why they should watch it. And I'll go to you, Ryan. Give me your score and tell audiences why they should watch Punch Drunk Love.
What is the highest score I can give this movie?
5 stars.
10? 5 stars. I'm giving this 5 stars. It's it's a little bit off the beaten path, but it's a very sweet movie, and I think that you would have to have a heart of stone if you don't enjoy this film.
Ah, I like that. Ed, what do you have to say here, bud?
5 stars, no, all the way, hands down, 5 stars. This film is just, it makes me smile. This movie really makes me smile every time I watch it. That's what I come out. That's my big takeaway every time I watch this is I'm smiling, and it's just it's a little quirky, but it's heartwarming, and it's PTA. Leave it to him to just deliver a great message and just a genius script with just wonderful music that I can't rave enough about. Cinematography is gorgeous. The story, the short runtime, everything about this movie is just amazing. So
I
can't rave about this movie enough.
I like what you said there, Ed, too. I like what you said there, too, about the movie making you smile, because it does. It is like a little ray of sunshine. I watch it every year. It's funny, too, because I watched this with one of my roommates for the first time, and when watching it, he's like, whoa, this is a horror film. This is absolutely a horror film. I cannot get into this at all. I'm like, okay, your comments on this is not so off here from what other people have said at the video store for me, because people have rented the movie and they're like, yeah, no, this was not good. I can't get into the character at all. This guy is just too much of a loser, and no, I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, well, it's not for you. You obviously have never felt any loneliness in your life, and you probably. What's that?
I was gonna say one more note. Like, don't go into this because you see, Adam Sandler on the front cover. Don't go into this movie for the first time expecting an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
The Criterion Collection picked this film up. Okay.
That's true. Yes.
That's how important this. And that's how I watched it. That's how important this movie is. It's not your typical slapstick. It ain't Happy Gilmore too. I can't tell you that for sure.
I almost wonder too what would happen in some sort of alternate universe where like Uncut Gems was released before this. Like, I don't know. I would feel it too. Now people are kind of using Adam Sandler and other dramatic roles that when
I
Uncut
think he
Gems.
needed this kind of role first. I don't know.
Yeah, probably true.
That's a whole other episode for another time.
That's true.
Uncut
Yes.
Gems. I love that movie to death.
It's great, but you're totally right too. The audiences need to ease into Uncut Gems. They needed this movie as like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great gateway into him doing different roles.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%. I'm at 5 stars too. I definitely love this flick, and I love everything about it. It's a fun movie. Again, gents, I want to thank you so much for helping me out on this episode, despite little problems here and there. But
No, it's okay. Things happen.
you know,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
but I want you guys
was.
really quickly, tell audiences about where to find your show, and if you have, anything coming up in the new season for you.
The Film Effect Podcast. We're on Facebook and Instagram at the Film Effect Podcast. Twitter at Film Effect Pod. We just started doing TikTok at Film Effect Podcast. Yeah, we have, like I said, weekly episodes. We just dropped The Long Kiss Goodnight for New Year's Eve. We have Rain Man, which is we recorded last night, and I can't wait for you guys to hear that one. But we got a lot of stuff coming up in 2022. A lot of Tarantino movies, a lot of John Waters movies, and a lot of great films still to be heard. So,
Very cool, very cool. Ryan, what about Soundtrack Your Life?
You can find us on all platforms, soundtrackyourlife.net. If you'd like to be a guest, you can fill out the form there. Twitter at soundtrack_your and Instagram at soundtrackcast. We just did a holiday episode on Love Actually with I Hate Your Taste in Movies. They're a film podcast from Canada.
I just listened to them. They're great.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. And we've got a lot of great guests in 2022, including someone that was featured on the soundtrack for A Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh, very, very cool. I'm excited to hear more about that when you guys post that episode.
I know who that was. I think I know who that's going to be.
Oh.
Well, we'll see.
Well, spoiling anything here. I want to keep myself on my toes and my tippy toes here. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of Cinema Recall. But as I do for every episode, I just gotta give a quick shout out to our wonderful Patreon subscribers. And so no special order. I want to thank Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast. Thank you very much, Jason. I want to thank Matt and Ashley from Ashley at the Movies. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to thank Jeanette Miller-Mickenham at AKJeanette on Twitter. Thank you. I want to thank Chris Revel of Let's Chat Media. Thank you, Chris. I want to thank Donnie Roberts, who is going to be our upcoming co-host of the show, and he's found on the Twitter at Unreal Goals. He also has a voice on the podcast For the Crowd. I want to thank Linda Castro, also formerly of Videorama Pod. She does the voice of Mrs. Halverson on For the Crowd podcast. So thank you for that. I think we're going to have upcoming guests. It's going to be Heather Bassendale from the MILFcast. And we're going to be talking about favorite female action movie stars, as well as problematics in movies, the issue of problematic in movies. And I know we're going to eventually have Chris Revel of Let's Chat with Chris Revel, which should already be playing right now. If you are listening to this on our main feed, we did our New Year's show with Chris Revel. That should have been posted by now, I believe. But yeah. That's it right now for the month of January. Please check out all of our past shows at cinemarecall.net. We're available on Stitcher, Spotify, Podchaser, Apple Podcasts, a bunch of other places you can find podcasts. Our Patreon is patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. Find us on the Twitter sphere at cinema_recall. You can find us on the Instagram at Cinema Recall Podcast. You can follow my co-host, Ashley, at massage.mom. And I just want to say thank you all very much for listening, and good night.